Alpha OneTV, I was saying for my money now, Hana all the latest updating or just same baby. Subscribe next share more news so any BTS already in feeling chim near Candy one chairman. And run at Kyebihene near Kofuado. Bagbin Becky can send me brave. Say I was saying Crawford or bought a year JB Danquah. Tim Bonnie I was some Crawford in United. A jai side dinner. Na onye nipa boni ni se di amanfo ayede ahyase ekeka no ni nim se sa asem no case na kwakoda because ye chebi for so send a petition to the clerk of parliament and my parliament ejisa petition to ene Ghana fo nyina celebrity omo Women's Day na ebi akopie mo parliament house na speaker Bagbin enya platform matches or deliver ni speech na o chiremu a wache history na kwakofa JB Danquah case no na chere say na o JB Danquah mpo na iri jan mani collapse mpo na ndi na mo kiken a chese wa huru a chese wa moke akofado ene nkrofo mu defend JB Danquah nyina or kind in relation to how women are powerful in Ghana was saying because affirmation act no masetino yeah they want the best support and ma a common name or be BM to the stance on bit me cram boy by about president I just be intimate in some quite good things and Kasan free a speaker Bagbin.
Parliament is a mirror of the society in which it exists. So we need all categories, all interests present in Parliament. You can make it. That inspired her. I should take it on. And since she won that seat, no man can beat her in her constituency. And she's now 4-timer. 4 good times. The deputy minority leader will attest to the efforts are put in to place her not only at the leadership of women in Ghana, but internationally. And she is one of the celebrated Commonwealth women leaders in the association. So we've done a lot because you are beautiful, you are good, you are capable, and we're sure those of you who read history would have known that when we actually created the right environment for our women, Ghana was going places. I'm so happy that today we are up again, prepared to fight for ourselves. I was caught up in another virtual event, and that one is dealing with another aspect of affirmative action, the youth. And that is why you had to wait for me. It was getting too late, and I didn't even deliver my remarks and had to rush here. But it was another very lively discussion. And this is all an initiative from this parliament. And we had our civil society partners actively participating in that event too, with students from various institutions given the opportunity to articulate their views as to how we can build a healthy society to develop Mother Ghana. I have just adopted all the beautiful speeches eloquently delivered here this morning, and even before. I listened to the Vice President deliver one, and some of our women MPs were members of the panel, and also one Dr. Sylvia Annie, a medical doctor, making Ghana proud, one of our inventors. She's in the UK, but I'm sure she's in Ghana now. She also delivered a very powerful message on this occasion. But for the records, I'm compelled to read a message to you, and I'll proceed to do just that. Today, we gather to celebrate International Women's Day, a day dedicated globally to recognizing the invaluable contributions of women in every aspect of our society. This year's theme, Accelerate Action, resonates deeply with our ongoing efforts to create a fair and inclusive society where every Ghanaian, regardless of gender, has equal opportunities to thrive. Many of you don't know that the late J.B. Danquah achieved what you've been reading because of the wife, Mabel Duff. She was the first lady to be elected to the parliament in Ghana. And she was the one behind the pen. She was the editor of the paper that was being run by J.B. Danquah, and she was doing the writing. When she left J.B. and joined CPP, and through the election at now Ododo constituency, J.B. Danquah collapsed. So you men, when you say you are the head, the women are the neck. And so if they don't turn you, so Ghana has now to be turned by the neck. And I'm so grateful you are all here in your numbers. The concept of gender at its core is a social and cultural construct that defines the roles, behaviors, and opportunities associated with being male or female. Historically, these constructs have led to systemic inequalities, particularly against women in terms of education, leadership, and economic participation. Thus, when we talk about affirmative action, we are essentially talking about empowering humans to be able to compete for equal opportunities, regardless of their gender or social disposition. Affirmative action can therefore be applied to different members of our society, such as men in vulnerable situations like the aged, people with disabilities, the youth, women, and children. Affirmative action embraces the notions of social justice, equity, and fairness. It is essentially positive discrimination to level the playing field for all members of society by correcting these imbalances and ensuring that policies, laws, and opportunities promote fairness and justice for all. Affirmative action may therefore come in different forms, such as youth development policies, diversity, equity, and social inclusion policies, and women empowerment. It is a known fact that when the topic of affirmative action comes up, the prominence is often on women empowerment. This is because it is universally acknowledged that despite the vital roles that women play in the development and continuity of our society, the very characteristics that endear them to society, such as as we've been told, childbearing and nurturing, caregiving, education, and housekeeping often become obstacles to their personal development. This is one of the areas that developing countries have to focus on. Almost all what our women do is not factored into our GDP. In the developed societies where they use systems, what our women do at home, they do in those systems and they are factored into the GDP. And so our GDP will continually be degraded and lowered so far behind that you can't create the fiscal space to be able to mobilize the resources to develop ourselves. I think that our economics and financial experts should take this up. At the decision-making levels in any society, there can be proactive and influence the discourse of these policies because they are better advocates for their peculiar problems. That is one of the reasons why the first republic, we had our own first president, creating an opportunity through parliament for 10 women to be elected to parliament. And all the 10 women, ending with the late Alassane Suzanne Alassane, she was one of them. You know how they impacted our society. I will now take you to a very important step we've taken as a nation, the passage of the Affirmative Action Gender Equity Act 2024. The act is 1121. All of you living here should know this act. 1121. Very easy. 1121. Of which year? 2024. Take it very serious. It is a landmark legislation that seeks to redress the systemic imbalances in our society that has led to gender disparities, ensuring that women are given proper representation in areas that matter to our development so that they can contribute meaningfully to our national development. Ladies and gentlemen, I must state quite clearly that this law is not just about representation. It's about fairness and dismantling the systemic barriers that have historically limited women's participation in governance, politics, and decision-making. It is about creating policies that enable women to reach their full potential. Affirmative action is not a privilege. It is a necessity for a progressive and just society. It is a legal and constitutional right. If you go through the provisions of our Constitution, there are copious areas in the Constitution 1992, particularly chapters 5 and 6. Chapter 5 deals with fundamental human rights, and chapter 6 deals with the directive principles of state policy. All these are there for us as a nation. I'm happy this is happening today because I know Ghana very well. When we decide to do anything, we do it very well. And when one of our ladies, you need to read history. Justice Annie Ruth Giage decided to be a lawyer. She was unbeatable. She joined the bench. She was unbeatable. She was recognized by the United Nations, and she single-handedly drafted the convention on women, on the elimination of discrimination against women. She did. Our women, we are toying with them. I'm happy that the majority leader mentioned how they led all of us in the schools. In my year, there were 2 ladies that had first class. None of us had. Ladies and gentlemen, the urgency of accelerating action cannot be overstated. My commitment to this act is not a secret. And I re-emphasize here today what I stated in the Chamber of Parliament last week, Tuesday, when the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection appeared before the House to answer questions, that this is a very important act for Ghana.
I was saying for AG be Danquah case no idea still now Ghana for be brina Ťeáses kwako yesterday the real history no ho na so no obia ne de oka didn't nchichiremu efa GB Danquah wa dos sa because of politics. The NPP people can positive things about GB Danquah, and the NDC forces so can negative things about GB Danquah. It's not like say GB Danquah every time I so obey we are so one yard the pada. Intimika so one yard the papa wa okrada. And intimika se papa nkwa so no yede or ye. Now so the real history and the ewo. Sa real history no. And on the ebimum pese bed ebi pia babontin. And I call find chim be bree a fan of my head eba. Sabras is speaking of Nanka presidents, ex-presidents, akufado, pese sa din ekoda. Pesen ki jasa dinibo. Kyebihene so fwaso can be bikakaka. Say those calling names against GB Danquah no munyina no man shut up or muyedi munchaso ye. Na ninim se kakufado akasi di nkenwan ka case ni to be twa. Na nka wo pese case ni to twa. Nkwa for no di petition come parliament na kabeka se komunchaso. Because those people no omo di petition come parliament say parliament enye bibi nye de emma omo. Mo so mo amu lady mo party no so pese side ni koda. Ti mo muntimi enkan bibi found the side ni di enya koda. And no, and I just never social media so I didn't try bebre. The Intia Akofa this case Alban say John Dramani Mahama during the 68th year celebration of the Independence Day no or can be big for CIA home. Crofua or more so my 2 Kwame Akroma de no so no. And I just obey sa argument no sa statement no the two no and as we be quite be among Crawford bride I shall see react can wasem and ultimately can Kwame Akroma unfa GB Danquah dinye the emblem because a man for takase will play a key role or quiet fast so yedin a 2 Kwame Akroma de so sana man for a history no. So this time no about Bagbin any opportunity I just say all money speech I chair a ma or more parliament our motto mudin ladies in parliament lip I just any answer and who speech in the aquaquity I very interesting and educative. So would see about Bagbin in some of the 2 jana during the speech no ye won't be a coffee or the history ni real man I just say kobo GB Danquah din I just say na GB Danquah now ye can was an year great jano emani de etwahwe a just say or this 3 ye or parliament anya asengetoa enim how people for a case in a day, but no which now so they educate Ghanaians and the ladies in parliament or the audience already or home. In him kwanya akofado no crop of fast and the but in him say, do you have Bamba being cancer a beshio muye, a beshio mopapa, beyomuya, because now come up say, Sardino, a cocoda, now say young could die, and so say who some information of her in asking to her. A bit much here, join the comment section, if Bagbin, the speech no deliver no, a very nice and educative, Shannon Queche, near and celebrating ma through the affirmative action, such as Abano. Higher for 1G.